Hi, I'm Michael P. Coleman, Content Director for Brother Be Well. Thanking you for checking out this Parents and Caregiver series brought to you by Blue Shield of California's Blue Sky Initiative. Hi, I'm Michael P. Coleman, Content Director for Brother Be Well. Former First Lady and Secretary of State Hillary Clinton gets a lot of credit for coining the phrase, it takes a village to raise a child, but largely that credit is misplaced. The phrase is actually based on a centuries old African proverb, and it conveys the message that it takes many, many people or a village to provide a safe, healthy environment for children and youth. The adage can absolutely be applied to the village or the support network that's required to support families managing children with mental illness. It's crucial that families assemble a support network, ideally before the mental health emergency arises. During today's conversation, we'll explore some of the strategies and tips for doing just that, forming a family support network. And we're going to have this conversation with one of my favorite new partners here to us here at Brother Be Well, Shannon O'Connor. She's an associate marriage and family therapist with HearU.org, one of our value production partners. Hey, Shannon, how are you doing? Welcome back to Brother Be Well.
Nice to be here.
Really good to have you. Let's get into this conversation, if you don't mind.
Okay, let's get started.
It took me a minute to wrap my brain around the concept of a family support network. When the topic first came up with our team, I thought, what exactly is that? So, as a marriage and family therapist, rather, I thought we'd start there. How would you define family support network?
It's a person or a group of people who are important to um, your, in this situation, your child, to help them reach whatever goals that there is that they need to be reached. So that would be a number of people. That could be family members. That could be neighbors. That could be friends. That could be a lot. It could be anyone that would be able to help your and support your child to get where they need to go.
And so I like the way you put it. You can look to family members if they fit the bill, but look across the street or at school or among your circle of friends, a variety of different places you can look for those people.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Before we start talking about some of the mechanics of really putting it together, I'm curious about a couple of things. How you just talked about it, how very important is it that we broaden that circle of care? And then I'm also curious, your work as an associate marriage and family therapist, do you encourage or employ family support networks in your treatment plans for your consumers?
Um, I will say, for the most part, I try to make sure that the nuclear family is a part of the support for the child. Whenever I can get them involved in any of the sessions, I try to make sure I do that. Um, I do also ask about their support network, like when I'm talking to the kiddos, or if I'm talking to like a regular client, like who are they going to support when they need this, when they need that, just to make sure that they are getting the support that they need. I do suggest that they bring people in, but most of the time they don't want to. But when they do, then it does work out. Um, and the other question, why is it important? Why are networks important? Is that what the question was? Or
Yeah, why is broadening that network important? Because some people believe, a lot of communities of color believe that, don't air your dirty laundry. Let's keep our problems in the family. Don't talk to anybody about what's going on. So the whole notion of forming a network with people outside of the family, for some families, that might seem a little foreign and they might resist that. So I'm wondering about why you think it's so important that you really look outside of the nuclear family.
oh, okay. I think the best way to answer that question would be to just give you like an idea of what I do with some of my clients when I'm working with them. There's an activity that I do. It involves me, like, there's a list of characteristics like happy, argumentative, brave, loyal, faithful, fierce. Like there's like a long list of characteristics that I go through with the client, and they have to tell me whether they are that thing or whether they're not that thing. And then once they get their list of characteristics down, what I do to try to get them to understand who they are, I ask them, how did you develop this? Who in your life taught you that, that you could be confident, or who in your life taught you that you could be argumentative, or that you are fierce, or that's something that you want to incorporate in your life. And you will not believe how many people said, hey, my neighbor taught me that I could be fierce. Like my best friend's sister taught me that I'm beautiful. I didn't know that before. Like, and it's because of their outside network of people that they know, helping them to like develop the characteristics that they have. So I think the more people that you know, the more that you are exposed to different things that you want to incorporate into your life and that you don't want to incorporate into your life, that will make you who you are.
I love that
That answers
answer.
the question.
It absolutely does answer the question. And I love a part of it when you said that I wouldn't believe the number of people whose neighbor taught them X. And that's so great for me to hear. I remember growing up, a strained relationship, complicated relationship with my own biological father who was in the house. But it was my neighbor across the street. His name was Mr. Jones. And when my dad would get down on me and Mr. Jones perceived it was a little too much, he'd say, hey, stop it. Michael is a superstar. You don't even know what you're dealing with right there. So as a little boy, I started to believe that. He was so emphatic about it. He was so sure about it. Even when I didn't see it in myself, I said, wow, this, and he was an older gentleman. He was older than my dad. So, old enough to be my grandfather. And he said, stop the presses. This boy is on top of things and he's going to surprise you and the rest of the world. So it's good to know that I wasn't the only one that was listening to what the neighbor had to say.
Yeah. Kids are like
Tell
sponges that way, though. They try to take in the good things, and sometimes they end up taking in the bad things too. But they look around and they try to see, what they can incorporate into their lives and make a part of, like, and they're just waiting for like the support from people to say, hey, yeah, you can do this, or yeah, you are this, or yeah, you do have the ability or the capability to do this. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate you sharing that. Let's talk about communal child rearing a little bit as an extension of a family support network. During past generations, our communities of color, paved the way. They had the roadmap. They showed us the way that goes. We were quite good at caring for other children that weren't our biological children. I'm thinking specifically of African Americans who sometimes showed up on these shores, as they say, and were separated from children even sometimes before we got on the boat. But certainly, as of the time we got up on a block, and we were sold away from our children sometimes. And sadly, frankly, we don't just have to look at past history. In the 20 teens, we had Mexican children separated from families at the border. And so other members of that Mexican community or non-Mexican community had to step in and care for those children. I'm curious here, Shannon, do you think there's anything to be gained by looking at history as we begin to form these networks? And would you agree or disagree that our communities of color, we've really got it down if we listen to the ancestors?
I would say that in the not so distant past, that was a form of like making sure that, all the kids made it, by using like, how do I explain that? So when geographically everyone was together, it was easier for a family to trust someone else in the community because they look like them, they act like them, they probably had the same traditions as them. So it was okay to let their kids go there because they knew that they were safe. But I think I don't think now it would be the same way because of modernization and the fact that like we can move around a lot better and diversity. We kind of don't know who our neighbors are, so it's not so easy to just trust your kid with someone that you don't really know. But yeah, and I think we were doing it good back in the day.
Yeah, we had it down then. I would agree with you that we don't know our neighbors the way we used to, and maybe we should get back to that. So maybe the short answer is, yeah, we could learn from people that had it down back in the past because they did it a little better than we might be doing it right now.
But another thing about that is like we trusted people who had the same traditions and stuff with us because we knew that they'd learn the same things at home that they would out with neighbors back in the day. But it's also important to like let your children learn about other traditions and other cultures. So maybe branching out and getting to know your neighbors that you wouldn't necessarily have trusted back in the day, and getting to see if they're good people, like exposing your kid to those cultures might help them to like just broaden their own horizons. So
And maybe that you're right. We might not look like our neighbor, but we might find out we've got more in common with that neighbor that we don't look like than we think.
that as well.
Yeah, and that's something that I've learned. That we have more in common with our Asian neighbors, our Latinx neighbors, our white neighbors. We got some commonalities there, and certainly when you think about raising children, raising children is raising children. I don't care what color the kids are or the parents are; it's the same thing. And
Yeah.
mental health is, schizophrenia is schizophrenia. It's not different if you're black or if you're Asian. It's schizophrenia. So we could learn from partners, neighbors, friends.
Yeah.
Let me throw out a couple statistics for you specifically as they relate to kids and relationships to their biological fathers. Over 57% of Black children don't live with their biological father. 31% of Latinx children don't live with their biological father. I was shocked by that, and I'm wondering about whether you were surprised by that. I'm not a clinician, so I'd love to hear what you have to say about that. And then what would you have to say about other communities really needing to feel the urgency to fill that gap? That's not something that can wait. 6 out of 10 Black kids aren't living with their father. Somebody else in that community, somebody at the barbershop, somebody across the fence, somebody across the street, maybe it's Uncle Joe. Somebody's got to fill in that gap, I think. What do you think about that?
I'm not surprised by the statistics. I'm sad that I'm not surprised by the statistics, but I'm not surprised by the statistics. And I do agree that there is a void there, and that someone does need to fill in that gap. We can get into the hows and whys, but that would take forever, so we're not going to. But I think I agree to a certain extent that that gap needs to be filled by someone. I don't necessarily think that it needs to be filled by the parent that is no longer there because of whatever reason that they're not there. I think there's some healthier, non-healthy things that would have to be discussed within all that. So yeah, I agree to an extent.
I agree. I appreciate that. You know what? I can see down the road, you and I might put a show together for Brother Be Well. We could call it Stump the Clinician. Because let me throw out another stat and see if you're surprised by this one, because this one knocked me out of my chair, Shannon. 72% of Black babies are born in this country to unwed mothers. 72%. Does that surprise you?
No.
Whoa! It's been a long time since my children were born. I was 7 out of 10 of these women don't have a life partner there. So that, I happen to think raising children is a communal activity. So I don't know. I've got all the admiration in the world for people that do it by themselves, because I had a hard enough time with somebody. I don't know how in the world somebody does it by themselves. We'll do Stump the Clinician here on Brother Be Well. I'll get back to you on that.